In today's video, I'm going to show you how to upgrade your co-writer inside of Claude by using Anthropic's official repository of Claude skills. If you are not using Claude Code for co-writing tasks, you're behind. You should be doing that. If you're serious about writing in any way, or if writing is important to your career, your role, whatever it is you're doing, your business, your brand, then you should be building out a co-writing system inside of Claude Code. And once you do that, you can start upgrading it with all of these cool new tools that are coming out, like Anthropic's Claude skills. Now, before doing that, I recommend that you check out my Claude Code Masterclass that I released last week, because inside of that Claude Code Masterclass, which I'll link here, you're going to get a starting folder, a starting pack, a Claude Code starting pack that you can use with Claude Code as your co-writer. And you can open it up with Claude Code and you just jump right ahead with everything you need. I'm not going to rehash everything here. Check out that video. I'll link it. But if you do have that, it's going to make this easier to jump right into. All right. So go set up your co-writing system. And then what we can do is upgrade it with Claude skills. So what are skills? A quick rundown in case you don't know. These are packaged instructions. All right, these are packaged instructions you can hand off to Claude. These are not your traditional prompts. These are not like a structured procedure you follow. It's like a one and done, write it once, use it forever type situation. And what these Claude skills do is they teach Claude how to do specific tasks the right way. They give it in other words, it's like specialized knowledge that you're putting inside of your co-writer. And like I said, write once and use forever, and then auto activate. So Claude will invoke these. Claude Code, your co-writer system, will invoke these automatically or autonomously, and you don't really have to do anything about it. So if you tell it, to complete a task and it has one of these skills available to it, it should autonomously invoke it. It doesn't work 100% of the time, but almost always it will invoke it. So before we start looking at how to actually put this into our co-writer, there's really two main skill structures that you're going to see that are really important that exist with Claude or Anthropic's official skills, as well as custom skills that I build and other people build. You're going to see two types here. So the basic here on the left that you're looking at in this presentation, this is your basic skills file. And what this looks like is it's inside of your .claude folder, which is your most important folder in Claude Code. It's where all of your Claude stuff lives, your agents, your Claude skills, your settings, and stuff like that. So you're going to have a skills folder inside of that .claude folder. And then you're simply going to have the file, which is the skill name. And then inside of it, you're going to have a markdown file. And that's all it is, a skill, a simple skill. Your basic skill is going to be just a really long markdown file, all right, formatted in a very specific way, which you can read and we'll talk about. But you need to format it in a specific way. And that's how it works. But you can also upgrade that skill even further by putting subfolders in here of like templates and references. So for example, one of these skills I have is a Claude skill that helps you develop a ideal client profile context profile. It sounds crazy, but an ICP context profile. So this is like a JSON document you can put inside of your co-writer, and then Claude will always know who your audience is, who you're writing for, who you're targeting, right? Your ICP. And I have a skill that does that literally will interview you. All right. It's going to interview you. And in these like templates here and these references, I'll include an entire, set 20 plus interview questions for Claude to follow when interviewing the user for building their ICP. All right. And then that is like, besides this is next to the regular markdown file, which teaches it what to do. So the markdown file might tell it like, check out your questionnaire that's in your templates and then use that. So that's just how it works. You could package up, a simple markdown file, or you can have it with resources. So you could really get creative here and build really cool stuff inside of Claude skills. Claude skills have been out for a while now, more than a month or maybe even longer, but people are not utilizing it enough. It is one of the greatest features that we have for co-writing inside of Claude. So, I use them every day across all sorts of use cases. So how skills work, basically you ask Claude to do something. It scans all of its available skills. This is a very basic way of looking at it. It scans all of its available skills, and then when it finds something that matches, it'll autonomously load up that skill with all the context inside of it and then use it, all right? And it's just scanning, summaries of each skill to know which one to use and then pull that in. Now, like I said, that's just a very basic way of doing it, but you can get really creative in a co-writing system. You can have agents, you can point skill, you can tell agents to point towards specific skills, etc. So there are many different things to do here. But today, what we're focused on is Anthropic's official repository of Claude skills, which nobody, a lot of people don't talk about. All right. And to do that, all you're going to do is come to the public repository, which I'll link below. And you can read through this if you want, but it's going to talk about it, what this is. This repository contains skills that demonstrate what's possible with Claude's skills system. These skills range from creative applications to technical tasks like testing web apps, MCP servers, to enterprise workflows, communication, branding, all right? Each skill is self-contained in its own folder with a skill.md file containing the instructions and metadata that Claude uses. Browse through these, and then you're going to see some instructions for installing it, which I'm going to show you right now, which is super simple. And if you click this folder here, you can see all of the skills here, right? Now, to install it, it's super easy. What we're going to do is I'm going to open up my co-writer here. Like I said, check out the masterclass if you haven't already. So that's what you're looking at. And I have my whole co-writing system opened up here as my folder. And what we're going to do here is if you're using, for example, this extension on Cursor, you need to open up a terminal because it's only going to work in the regular terminal here with Claude. So we're going to activate Claude. We're going to activate it just by saying Claude inside of our terminal. And to install all of these skills inside of Claude, what you need to do here is very simply do /plugin, all right? And these skills are included in a plugin that you could put inside of Claude Code. We're not going to dive deep into plugins in this video. That's a whole nother thing to talk about, but you don't need to know much about it for this right now. So you're just going to put /plugin. And what this is going to do is open up, okay, all these different plugins that you can install. But what we want to do is tab over to marketplaces here, okay? And you're going to get over to marketplaces and you're going to click add marketplace. And when you click add marketplace, you're going to come back to the GitHub documentation here. And you're going to see that you have right here, plugin, marketplace, add Anthropic.skills. All we got to do is take this Anthropic /skills, and you're going to add it in the marketplace right here. And you're going to click enter. And this is going to add it into your Claude Code. You're going to see I'm going to get an error here because it's already installed here. But when you do it, if you haven't installed it already, it's going to upload all of these skills into your marketplace. And then all you got to do, let's go back into plugin once you have it installed, and you're going to come over here and you're going to see, you're going to have discover and install, and you're going to be able to install them. Now, there are two categories that Anthropic uses for their official skills. We have document skills and we have example skills. And this breaks down into like creating specific documents. We're talking PDFs, PowerPoints, and then other skills. So it's broken down into two categories. I just upload all of them, okay? I uploaded all the skills here, so we have access to all of it. And then what's going to happen is these skills are living in the plugin, so you don't have to mess with them. You don't have to do anything else manually. These are already inside of your Claude Code, inside of your co-writer here, your project. And then we'll just test it out by asking Claude, can you tell me what available skills you have from the Anthropic marketplace? We're just going to ask it that so we can see. But it's as simple as that. You're just going to use a plugin, you're going to add the marketplace, and you are going to install all the skills. You can see here, I just asked it what available skills there are, and it's telling us here we have PDF manipulation, we have spreadsheet creation, document creation, presentations. Then we have some design and creative skills. We have front-end design, canvas design, algorithmic art. We have theme factory, MCP builder, skill creator, web app testing. So we asked it what the skills are. We know they're already loaded up, all right? This is the full list here, which I kind of just read to you. But there are a couple that I think are super important for people who are using Claude Code as a co-writer. And that is front-end design, which is going to allow you to create like incredible visuals, landing pages, web content, supplemental content that goes alongside your writing. For example, these presentations that you're watching that I do, I've had a lot of comments on them from YouTube, people asking about it, and I'm literally using the front-end design skill in Claude Code inside of my co-writer to create these presentations. Another one's PDF, which works for lead magnets, downloadable guides, formatting documents, professional papers, reports, all of that. We also have spreadsheets, which is cool and important. And then skill creator, which is literally a skill that helps you create other skills. Okay. And we're not going to dive into that today, but when we talk about custom skills, that's an easy way to package it up into a custom skill. Okay. So we installed it already. We talked about what happens. These get registered, and now we can access them all. You don't invoke them manually. Like I mentioned, you don't have to invoke these manually, which I'm going to now run through and show you. You can just describe what you want, and then Claude will autonomously decide on what skill to use. Now, with that said, this does not work 100% of the time, so you need to always make sure that if you really want it to be using a specific skill, you might as well just call out that skill or just pay attention to make sure that as in its thinking process and it's running, it actually activates that skill. If not, you need to cancel and start over. But really, theoretically, and what works most of the time in my experience, is you can just simply say things like, create a presentation about X, and it's going to use front-end design or the PowerPoint. You're going to say, make a PDF guide for my lead magnet. Boom, it's going to activate the PDF skill. Build me a spreadsheet to track content, etc. Creating a landing page for my course. All right, so it does a really good job at that. Now, the magic that really comes in is skills. If you have standalone skills, that's great. They work incredible. But when you combine these with our co-writing system, with our context profiles, and then you combine those with our skills, that's when you're really like supercharging your co-writer. So let's take a look at that now and what I mean by that. So when you watch the masterclass or when you build a co-writing system, one of the things you really need to have are context profiles like this, like our voice DNA, which writes in our voice, my ICP, which I talked about earlier, which is my audience. I have a business profile, right? Really multi-page context profiles. Then I have even more in supplementary product pages, pricing, etc. We could put brand colors here in our co-writing system as well, which doesn't even need to be in the context profiles. We can have a brand folder here in our co-writer talking about our colors, our fonts, everything. And that is when it just really starts to supercharge everything. So, for example, let's do this. Let's take a look. If you look here, I have my co-writer. Probably looks different than yours because it's built out. Like I have everything built out in here, but we could take a look at our newsletters here. And one of the Substack newsletters I posted, right, which was the Claude Code Masterclass last week. All right. So what I can do is open a new Claude Code. And to the right here, you see this is the Substack I did on my Claude Code Masterclass. And what I can do is literally tell Claude right here, take a look at my Claude Code for Writing Masterclass Substack newsletter and create a presentation using your front-end design skill. And we're just going to send that. And you're going to see that now it's going to create a presentation for my newsletter. You can use this with transcripts. You can use it for marketing material. Everybody has their own use cases of what you can use this for. In my co-writer, what's going to happen is it's going to read all my context profiles in my system. And as you can see right here, what's happening is it reviewed the Claude Code for Writing Masterclass newsletter, and now it's creating a presentation using the front-end design skill. In this, you could see it's activating the skill right here. All right. Skill, document skills, front-end design, launching skills, document front-end design. And then this that pops up is the actual skill. So you can read through that. For example, this skill guides the creation of distinctive production grade front-end interfaces, combining with all of my own context and knowledge here. What it's going to do here is create the whole presentation. So I'm going to let that run for a second, and then I'm going to open up another one just to show you a couple of different things we can do. What we can do now is take a look at my Claude Code Masterclass published newsletter and create a PDF document or a PDF guide that I can use as a lead magnet based on that masterclass. We're going to tell it that, and now it should invoke the PDF skill to create a PDF, which you could, brand and use as a lead magnet or whatever, send to clients, whatever it is you do. So here, it's going to think and it's going to read my context profiles. It's going to understand my system here because I have a very detailed system instructions here inside of Claude telling it to read my context profiles. If that's something you're interested in, make sure to join my Substack, sign up for my waitlist for the co-writer system, which is going to teach you how to build out these really detailed system instructions and honestly just give you the ones I use as well. So it's going to ask now, do we want to proceed with this skill? And now it's using the PDF skill. So now it's going to create a PDF. So I'm going to let those two run and then show you, because those are the two that I think are, two of the best ones, is PDFs and presentations. And then we can come back here and check what it's like when it's done. Okay, so after a few minutes, it runs through the skills and it did both. It created the presentation and it created the PDF. Let's take a look at both, starting with the presentation. I told it to take a look at my Claude Code Writing Masterclass newsletter and create a presentation using the front-end design skill. It used it and done. What it did was created a 9-slide interactive presentation. It saved it here into our co-writing folders, and it saved it. It gave us some details about the design direction, the different slides. And what we're going to do is, you're going to see it right here. It saves it as an HTML file on your computer. So now you just got to open that in your browser. So I have it open right here. I'm going to open, and here is the presentation. So we have Claude Code for Writing, build an AI co-writing system that actually knows you. We're going to go through the internet is drowning in AI slop. We have from prompting the systems. It's very dynamic. You can see here with glowing effects and hovers. It even does these like amazing like code callouts, these designs, the emoji. The point of this front end design is I'm sure you've seen it by now. There's a lot of people who create websites and apps and stuff on Lovable, and they all look like they just screamed AI generated, right? With the colors, with the emojis and stuff like this. So the front end design is supposed to avoid that. You could see we have a lot more dynamic stuff that we wouldn't get on something like Lovable. We can even put buttons and everything. Now, with that said, if you look at this, it still doesn't look perfect to me. Like I don't like this necessarily, and it doesn't match with my brand. So that is where you are going to find so much success, by having a really built out co-writer system. Because what you can do, for example, is then in your Claude Code, you can literally, like, for example, in your chat, start telling Claude now, all right, now make this edit or make that edit. You can point it towards folders in your co-writer system. You can point it towards branding folders with images. Claude can look at images. It can process images, colors. Maybe you have branding guidelines, stuff to follow, and you can point it to that and keep rebuilding. And what you're going to end up with, which is exactly what I did, is a presentation like this that a lot of you have called beautiful and loved it in my YouTube comments. And that is because I worked together with Claude in my co-writer system to build it out with my, correct brand guidelines, font, colors, just all around how I like it. It was never really that possible to get these AI tools to build exactly what it is, that you wanted, but we're getting pretty close here. So that's the presentation you can do with Claude Skills in your co-writer system. Now let's look at the PDF, which is the last thing we did. And I open up this second chat here, and it's really interesting how this works. So once we tell it to create a PDF, we use the same newsletter and masterclass. What it's going to actually do is it's going to invoke that skill, and with that skill, it's going to write up an entire Python script to create a PDF, and then it's going to create it here. You're going to see it generated the PDF lead magnet. You can literally download it here and puts it inside of your folders here, your root files, and then it created the PDF. It gives a summary, and then we could click this here, and here is the PDF it created for the Claude Code for Writing Quick Start Guide. Build your AI co-writing system in 30 minutes. It gives us 2 different things to follow. And same scenario applies here as the presentation, where, of course, right now this doesn't look great. I would not just send this out, but what I can do now is iterate inside of this chat with natural language. I don't have to be technical. I don't have to know anything about this. I can just ask Claude to make these changes to this PDF, put branding in it, put images. If I want, I can create a folder of assets here. I can point Claude to that folder, tell it to use these assets in the PDF. Like, there's no limit to what you could do with all of this stuff. It is pretty incredible. 99% of people don't even realize that they can be doing this. So if you are a writer, if you are a professional and you rely on content in any way, shape, or form, which is pretty much everybody at this point, if you're a technical writer, professional writer, marketing professional, ghostwriter, anything like that, there are so many tools available to you if you build a co-writer system now that you can build out lead magnets, assets, presentations. I run all my operations solo by myself, true solopreneur. I've talked about it before, and I do all of this with all the amazing stuff I run with my co-writer system and using Claude Skills and building out assets. So definitely go check this out. Supercharge your system with these Claude Skills. This is only 16 of Anthropic's official repository. There's communities of skills that you can be using. All right. So make sure to check that out. Make sure to check out my Substack, subscribe if you want any of the assets I use in my videos. Sign up for a wait list if you're interested in getting my entire collection of skills and system prompts. Drop a comment below. Let me know. Drop a comment about what you build or what you would like to see, because then maybe we could create Claude skills or find one out there. All right. Check it out. Subscribe. Check out the Claude Code Masterclass. And until next video.